after 8 and it's time for Political Point. In case you're joining us now, in studio we have Honorable Anthony Oluoch. We're also joined by Honorable John Kagushia and Gabriel Muduma for Political Point. Let's start off with this particular story where a section of leaders from Kitui County have slammed leaders from Ukambani region who are opposed to Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka's 2022 presidential bid. Led by Kitui Senator Enoch Wambua, the leaders officially told off Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua, who is in the recent past has been too critical of Musyoka's leadership style in Ukambani.
Wuni Market in Mingi Central constituency is where the MPs warned that there will be political consequences to any leader in Ukambani perceived to be a hindrance to Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka's political stirb at the presidency. Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua, who has been critical of Kalonzo, was told to keep off.
Yani hata asijaribu hata kidogo kufikiria anaweza jibizana na Kalonzo Musyoka. Ajafika hapo na hata waifika hapo. Alfred level yake akuja ongea na Senator Wambua. Utaongea. He has a county mandate. I have a county mandate. Pale juu kwa Kalonzo Musyoka tafadhali. Keep off. Kwa sababu ukishika hapo hiyo ni live wire na utachomeka.
Sisi tuko nyuma ya Kalonzo Musyoka.
On Wednesday, former Machakos Senator Johnson Muthama told a local vernacular radio station that he will lead coalition talks between Deputy President William Ruto and the Wiper Party leader. But Kalonzo responded in a tweet dismissing the claims, terming them as malicious. Kalonzo said the speculations are meant to create a rift between him and President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Msimamo tulichukua ni ya kwamba tunafanya kazi na Jubilee. Uhuru Kenyatta. Sijasikia msimamo mwingine ya kwamba kuna rais ambaye tutaunga mkono 2022.
All right, and alliances. Let me start with you, Muduma. Your thoughts on this? We have Mudama coming out to say that there's an alliance possibly being formed between Kalonzo and Ruto. You know, Kalonzo comes out and says, no, that is fictitious, there's nothing like that. But we also have Mutua saying that the reason, in fact, part of the reason why he was saying that he's getting threatened is because he has been very vocal against Kalonzo Musyoka.
That is true. That is true. And I'll say two things. First, you know, for Mutua, where he is right now, he's coming to his second, term and final term as governor. So he must look for new space. And this new space really is just to be leader of Ukambani, all right? If there's going to be any setup where the regional counties will have a head, then probably Mutua may look at that particular area to see whether he can continue his political career. But as of now, and it didn't start now, it started when he actually went out, moved out of Wiper, went out, got his Maendeleo chap, and he was lucky enough politically to become, second-time governor using Maendeleo chap. So I think he's just testing the waters and saying, you know what, I can take this party, I can take this party further. I mean, he has members. He feels as if he can contribute to the company politics. But I think it's still a long shot, given the fact that people are starting to now warm up to a new realization of a Kalonzo presidency. So here they are telling Kalonzo, if you play your cards well, right. You can be somewhere in the grand scheme of things. So as we move along, you're going to see the coalitions that we are talking about. It's going to be a very interesting field moving forward. But politics of Ukambani as we speak right now, I can guarantee you Kalonzo still holds the...
Honorable Lodge, do you feel that Honorable Kalonzo still holds, the leadership of Ukambani, so to speak?
Yeah, to be foolhardy for us to wish away Kalonzo Musyoka. I think he's managed to hold Ukambani politics since Mulu Mutisia. And I think we are talking over 3 decades, if going to 4. And he's managed to be very consistent. In his twilight years, it's very likely that people will sense fatigue, just like people have been trying to do or started to do about regional Nini elsewhere. But on the same breath, you have to credit that new kids on the block have been coming up. And you see, Mutua has managed to brave the wave. With his Maendeleo chap, he delivers its seat, never mind that it was contested. Recently, he managed to get a a Maendeleo Chap MCA seat, in spite of the fact that the party leader of Wiper went out of his way to go and campaign for it. So it's going to be very interesting. I doubt that he would be able to deliver more than 30 or 40% of Kambani votes to any coalition, but he will be able to dent what basket Kalonzo Musyoka will be able to carry with him. I have no doubt in my mind that the Ukambani politics will not remain what it was in 2007 and 2013, especially if he combines himself with Charity Ngilu and Kivuta Kibwana. It's a space that is very interesting. Now on to Mudhama. You've seen the back and forth about Mudhama say this is Wiper leader's position. Of course, they have denied it, but I think what you cannot deny is that Mudhama's role in the last two coalitions, because we were in CORD and then NASA, and almost single-handedly, it's been said Mudhama was the person who, you know, managed to broker and even convince the party leader of Wiper and Wiper to go along and stay in this coalition. In fact, in the last NASA coalition, you remember there was this talk about MOU, you were to do one and then give us one. And at that time, Ukambani was like, you either give us the NASA ticket or we are going it alone. And again, it was said that, you know, Mudhama was gravitating more towards the party leader for ODM and the prime minister. Eventually, they settled in. And so when you hear him speaking now, it has been denied, but you know where a frog is running, of course, a snake is chasing it. There might be smoke and light somewhere. It may not be true, but it's an interesting space to Nini. I think on the other side of Jubilee, the wing leaning towards William Ruto, I think they have seized the opportunity to try and make sure that they have, if I use the word dented, Kalonzo enough to be deemed to be a Ruto person, so that if he was in Kenyatta's corner, and I think he's struggling to try and say, you're going to spoil for me with the president. You know, now I'm here, and then you're trying to throw the spanner in the works. And I think they're trying to make sure that happens, so that wherever place Kalonzo Musyoka stands, he will be viewed like not so reliable when you're going into a coalition or any political arrangement. The Kenyatta wing of it, or whoever it is that would be on that corner, will be saying, this guy has already been...
And unfortunately, it kind of plays to a reputation that Kalonzo Musyoka has, you know, gained over time, that he is not reliable, he's not dependable, he's this way today, tomorrow is the other way. John, your thoughts on this? And also now looking at Central. And the question of alliances and having kingpins, which some have called tribal leaders. Really.
Kalonzo Musyoka still remains to be the kingpin of Ukambani politics, and it's not so easy to dislodge him as Governor Mutua would imagine, because to be a political kingpin in a region, it doesn't take you to be on the TV. It's not how many times you appear on TV or how many times you talk. It has much more than that. It has the inspiration of the region. It has the grassroots connection. It has a trust that people have with you. And if you look at Kalonzo Musyoka in the history, it will tell you that Kalonzo has been one of the people who have remained with a firm grip on the Ukambani politics. He was able to wrestle this from Charity Ngilu, even when Charity Ngilu was doing much better than Kalonzo Musyoka when she was actually a minister of the government. And having retained that firm grip on the Ukambani politics is not going to be so easy for now to have this gentleman, Governor Mutua, dislodge him so easily. But of course, with time, Governor Mutua can build on his grassroots connection and also the blessings of the larger community. Now, if you look at Mudhama, he remains a kingmaker in Ukambani politics, and not only a kingmaker, but also a well-oiled and deep-pocketed individual who finances and funds the political activity in Ukambani. And that makes him a very, very important person when it comes to negotiating for the region on which way forward. To some extent, it's believed that he has even kind of guided Kalonzo Musyoka on which way to go in the past, or pulled him back from going a certain direction.
He's even been mentioned as his spokesman to some extent.
That is it.
And when he speaks, you'd expect that Kalonzo is actually aware of what he's talking about.
That is it. And that's why his utterances in the recent time about them negotiating with the deputy president cannot be taken lightly. In fact, I don't think he's denting the image, as Mheshimiwa Oluoch would like to say. I don't think he's actually trying to dent the image of Kalonzo Musyoka. I think he's actually saying what they believe to be doing or what they're actually doing. And what would be happening is Kalonzo Musyoka, as always, he would deny that because, of course, he's having a hold on to the on the cake on the other side, and so he would want to leave that. But as he is holding there, he's also trying to organize himself for future. So, and it has been a bit confusing in the recent past, whereby sometimes the side that subscribes to the deputy president looks very organized, looks promising. Other times it looks beaten. It looks like it will not make it. The system will overwhelm it. So sometimes that has been very, very confusing. I can tell you every political player, especially in Mount Kenya region and in the whole country at large, sometimes they actually don't know where they stand. Because today they think the deputy president side is very organized and they all want to fall in there. And then after some time they look at it and they feel they are getting beaten and they feel that the government machinery is overwhelming. So sometimes it's very confusing. Now, when you have the two political leaders in Ukambani now fighting for supremacy, it's going to weaken their position to negotiate when it comes to 2022.
And that brings me to the next part, because we had this discussion even off air. We talked about the song by King Kaka, where we seem to always get confused, particularly when it gets to election time. Honorable Oluoch, maybe to even just talk about these coalitions and these alliances that may be coming up. What is it that, it's obvious, politics is obviously a game of numbers. And depending on what each individual is bringing onto the table, it gives them that negotiating space. But what is their selling point to the people? Because if you look at Raila, maybe in his region, you look at Uhuru in his region, you look at Kalonzo in his region, what is their selling points to the people other than development?
Yes, as I try to answer that, just to weigh in a little bit on what he said, on Mudhama's role. You know, this is politics, and perhaps this could be playing out. You know, if this was actually the scheme or the script in Kalonzo's corner, you probably want to look at a political bad boy. You go and throw the spanner in the works. Right. I deny. Let's test the water and see how would Ukambani react to Ruto. Remember, we have thrown bat and bricks and mud at DPP. Right. I mean, at the DP. Corruption and all manner of things, isn't it? So you go and throw test the waters. Let's see how it works out. And then, of course, a denial will follow. And the denial really was a tweet. So that's very possible. And then just one more point on Mutua. I don't think Mutua wants to take away, or has an illusion that he could take away the the Kambani tough from Kalonzo. Being a second-time governor, if Mutua is able to hive off just 30% and take it wherever he takes it, that's a big win for him. So now back on what these people are selling. Let me start with Mudavadi, because in all this we haven't spoken about Mudavadi. Right. Remember Mudavadi smarting away from the 2000 and was it the 13 one or 2007 where the fallout with Uhuru about, you know, Shetani, Alinidanganya and all these things. He has been this close to the presidency all the time. And even when he came to NASA, I doubt that he was coming to NASA for lack of a better arrangement. Mudavadi has always wanted to be the person, only that the time and history and circumstances. So I think he thought that the missteps on the handshake and the quote-unquote what they believe is a fatigue with the Raila presidency, they may be wrong in my view, is the time for him to fashion himself as the opposition person, the person who stood when the rest went and dined with the Nini. So I think what he's selling nationally and then back in his backyard is that he's the remaining voice of reason. Yeah, and I think he's also selling in back in the Luya land that, look, I am your best bet. I have been here long enough. I have the experience. And then he tries and sells the idea that, well, he's sober-minded and more toned down and stable in terms of his temperament and all that. I think that's the demeanor. I think this is the kind of thing he tries to sell, the character and the temperament and the fact that he's the less radical. You remember he's always talking about trying to throw bats at Raila about, you know, his abrasive nature and all that. I think for Kalonzo, Kalonzo is always the diplomat, and I think he will always try to put that. Sometimes too much so that people have said he's indecisive. Diplomacy and being indecisive and not listening more and not letting your view be known, sometimes can be taken to what people now have characterized as
wishy-washy,
watermelon. I hate to use that word, but at some point he owned it and said, yes, I have watermelon. So I doubt I'll be offensive to him, and my good friend. And then we are back to, I think, Deputy President. I think what Deputy President is selling is that, look, we had an arrangement, and like he said, the 10-10 issue. And the central people, by and large, there's a part of it that is saying that, Uhuru hasn't gone back to say what happened to the 10-10 issue. So some people are stuck there. And then there is another bit that is stuck with the fact that our president is uncomfortable with all this campaign. You should have let the president do his term, finish, don't try to inherit him before. And then when the time comes for him to hand over your 10, he will come and campaign for you, like he said. Right. Raila, of course, I don't need to speak about what he will be selling. It's very well known. He's gone down that path. He's pro-democracy credentials. I think even at the worst times, he can go to the left and then he can come to the middle like he did with the handshake. So I think he will be selling lots of things himself that even in Central, when people thought that, this guy is not going to
He's an impossible sell.
He's an impossible sell. Yeah. I think he has tried by saying, look, I came and did handshake with Uhuru. I did it with Kibaki. I have bent over backwards now twice and endorsed, if you want to say post-election endorsement of Uhuru, he has done that. He did it with Kibaki.
All right.
So what else do you need to make you feel as Central and the rest of the country?
Mudhoma, that brings in an interesting aspect, and of course, Raila in Central. It was at some point thought impossible. Right. The same way it was thought impossible for Raila and Uhuru to shake hands, but that happened. We even have the likes of Governor Waiguru, who has even been vocal and said that Central is ready for a Raila presidency. Do you see that maybe forming out? I was listening to somebody who was saying on their crystal ball they see that there could be a Raila presidency and a Waiguru premiership. Is that something that maybe that?
Well, that's something that has been said, but as we speak now, that can be very. It's something.
It's still too early to call.
It's something that is good to engage. But when you look at the sustainability of it, you have to wait a little bit longer to give people time to actually digest where are we going. And Central, like Wakili has said, they've been asking, the president has all come back here to tell us where we are heading next. And the president made it very clear. He said, my handshake between myself and Honorable Raila Odinga had nothing to do with positions or 2022. So that is actually the president who actually gave that verbiage. And he's been very clear, not only once or twice, but he's talked about it severally. And the good thing that you're bringing about the handshake and where the coalitions are going, and just keep in mind that I've told you, we are going to see some very interesting conversations as we move along. There are going to be a testing of waters. There's going to be what Wakili is also saying. Emissaries sent, go through this manner in the works. Let's see how people react. There's going to be a lot of those. So when we are talking about how Central is going to shape up to the likes of people like Governor Waiguru or Raila coming into the backyard, or, of Waiguru and Central saying, we are going to accept him, there is going to be quite a lot that needs to be done. Remember, we are just removed a few years where even the president himself could not visit places like Nyanza. But today, the president will just wake up and tour the port of Kisumu just to see development. So at least there was something that the handshake brought in, the peace, there was something positive that came in. But then again, let us not interpret it in a political tone, because as much as you are talking of giving the president time to be able to deliver, his agenda, to be able to finish with a clean scorecard, you cannot also start saying that we are ready to vote this kind of person or we are ready to move this direction. When you look at what NASA was, before Edwin Sifuna spoke in Kibra and said, these other guys, we've carried them. You know, we've carried the likes of Musalia, we've carried Kalonzo, we've carried Wetangula. I mean, and at this point, they've been leeches. They've been sucking energy out of ODM. So what Musalia is doing, and it came out very clear in Kibra, he said, we should not actually be riding on the back of ODM as now is being perceived. Let us see what we can do. And hence comes in the discussions that are going to start happening. Where are we comfortable with? Or with who are we comfortable? Which coalition are we going? We have tried this, it hasn't worked. Even for Kalonzo Musyoka, you'll start seeing him looking at different areas. 2022, when he looks at Raila Odinga, he's like, will I have another discussion with Raila? Will he this time support me as he has said in the past? I don't think he's really looking at that position with the kind of political lens that it will take, because, you know, for Raila, come 2022, I believe his name will be on the ballot. So what will happen to Kalonzo? I think Kalonzo has to start knocking on doors where he can be, you know, comfortable. He's been told, you know what, NASA is dead and done. You know where you
find your space somewhere. John Kagushia, I want us to do closing comments after you, but very briefly. So I'll start with you, then I'll come to you.
A Raila presidency is possible in Kenya, but a Raila's presidency in central Kenya, in Mount Kenya region, is going to be very difficult. This is a gentleman who has been missold or has been properly beaten, demonized and properly beaten in Mount Kenya region. And if he comes to Mount Kenya region and he's marketed there or he's sold there, the best that can be achieved, regardless of who is selling him, would be not more than 30%. And I can tell you that would be very difficult. Again, also, Governor Waiguru is not, does not in any way represent the aspirations of Mount Kenya region, and does not in any way stand as a regional leader. In any case, as we talk today, even in Kirinyaga itself, she cannot command more than 30% of the following anymore as a governor.
I think even politically speaking, there are those who've been close to the president, and for Waiguru to have come, you know, from CS to governor and suddenly become, you know, influential in Central, that might be overstretching it.
Yeah, it would be much, much more overstretching. And maybe I would also want to look at the issue of presidency in this country in a matter of the aging leaders that we have in Kenya. We have the top-notch leaders now are actually aging, and within 5-10 years, we will probably not have them anymore on the political stage. And that is likely to bring a lot of confusion and also democracy, so to say, in this country, like we are seeing in central Kenya now. Because one of the reasons why the Mount Kenya is no longer at ease is because the regional political kingpin is now not recontesting again in 2022. And for that reason then, the Mount Kenya people are now finding themselves to try and kind of position themselves in a different way like than they have known before. Now this means that they are now becoming more democratic, probably like the Western Kenya has been. And now people can probably make their own choice depending on where they feel inclined to. And that's why you see different Mount Kenya people will be tilting towards certain political ideologies and political inclinations, you know, in different ways and at different times.
All right.
And that makes it more liberal for Kenyans to...
It opens up the political space.
Yeah, so if you want to look at the younger leaders who seem to be coming to the top now, we have, I think, Ali Hassan Joho, we have, of course, the Deputy President himself, and quite a number of a few other political leaders in this country who seem to have risen beyond the...
All right, gentlemen, we'll need to wind up now because of time. I'll give you a minute each, starting with you, Honorable Luch. Kindly, 1 minute and we finish.
In my closing remark, just three very quick things. Number one, if Raila is going to run for president, and he has not said that he will, he has not said that he won't, if he's going to run, the person who's going to sell him in Central Province, I want to agree, it has to be, Uhuru has to come out. But he has to deal with the second issue, which is my second point. Central people, a president in their second term, it's like the Central people have nothing to do with you in your second term. They don't listen to you, they don't seem to, it's like they move on. So Uhuru has to change that narrative, and he has to do more to be able to sell Raila. If Raila is going to run, Uhuru has to be the one to be at the forefront. I don't think Waiguru would be able to do that. My last point is, when we discuss all these coalition arrangements, let's think about the win-win that is in the BBI. we cannot discuss all these emerging coalitions without the new arrangement that is coming out. And for all the battering that has been coming left, right, and center, I think it works for everybody, that the new arrangement would allow them to be able to negotiate better. Even in DP Ruto's Dini, I believe that's part of the big reason they did a 360, that when you have a position for president, deputy, premier, and I believe when this goes to the next round, we probably will have 2 deputy prime ministers. I mean, and this allows everybody to be able to reach out and say, look, we can have the presidency, you have the... So it's a win-win situation, and when we are going to discuss the emerging political formations, it is impossible to do it without looking at this emerging arrangement under BBI.
All right, Mudhuma, your closing remarks in a minute, please.
Very quickly, the thing, I'll talk about something which I think has really changed drastically. The first thing is we still, even as we talk about BBI, let us not push down the Big Four agenda. To me, I think those are a game changer in this country. When you talk about, the healthcare, when you talk about housing, when you talk about food security and what have you, manufacturing, that is something that we need to continue as a country. To me, I believe it's more of a game changer than anything else we've ever seen in the face of this country. The other thing is, I'm liking where the war on corruption is going. And I hope that trajectory continues. Let us see more governors coming. I know the COG, have taken, time out to really look at the Justice Mombi declaration pronouncement. And honestly, at this point, I think nobody will be listening to them. Like the president said some time back, if you are innocent, you have nothing to worry about.
Absolutely.
So they have nothing to worry about. Let the one who has been found to be culpable, kila mtu abebe msalaba yake.
All right, John Kagushi.
Yeah, of course, he has taken words from my mouth. But the politics of 2022 is likely to be determined more by the war on graft that is taking place in the country. Because it will be the ones who will be surviving in 2022, those ones are the ones that will be contesting. Because it's clear now as we talk, some of the governors and some of the people whom we thought were rising very fast are not going to be there in 2022 when it comes to the issue of elections. And so we hope that this can continue more. And probably more analysis that need to be done is on the next step that the DPP and the DCI are likely to take, and who. And that's why I would want to say that all the political leaders need to be very careful about guarding the public resources. Because at the end of the day, we need to ensure that we hearken to the call of King Kaka, that we don't treat Kenyans as wajinga anymore. And of course, I would also want to urge Kenyans also to refuse to be wajinga and rise to the occasion and not make the same mistakes that they have committed in the past. They have to look at leaders who also are determined to make this country a better place.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Honorable John Kagushia, Speaker of Nyeri County, Honorable Anthony Oloch, Member of Parliament for Mathare constituency, and Gabriel Mudhuma, who's a political analyst. Thank you.